D&D 4th edition. I heard you got it.
I do.
You have the books.
I have the books.
Nice, let's play.
Are you serious?
Yeah, totally, dude.
Really?
I haven't played since like middle school. I'm totally down for a game.
I've been waiting all week for this. Okay. Alright, we've got Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, character sheets, got dice, we've got regular and golden, very special, and snacks. Pre-opened. Let's go find some
all the
people.
rolls are filled. Okay, here we go. There's got to be some genuine nerds in this office.
Rant.
Alright, okay, here we go. D&D, Nerd Patrol. D&D, Nerd Patrol.
No, because the thing is, most people who bought GTA 4 probably would still be playing GTA 4 and not ready to.
But people love giving their money to assholes.
Nerd
I think
Brigade. Nerd Brigade.
Hey, what?
4th edition in the house. D&D 4th edition. You gonna come and play?
I don't play.
Alright, okay.
I don't play your newfangled D&D.
Alright.
Gary Gygax is rolling over in his grave.
Look at this. Look at all these character races. I can be an Eladrin. Eladrin are a graceful, magical race born of the Feywild, the realm of fairy. That's F-A-E-R-I-E. This is some nerdy stuff. Get out of here. I got some WoW to play. Oh, look at this, your little dragon. Did my dragon fight you?
Dude, I play real games, man. Games like Gears of War, you like chainsaw people and that. What are you doing in this game? Oh, look, there's little elves and dragons. Dude, this is look at this. Look, what is this? What is this creature? Do you get this off the Encyclopedia Britannica website?
All right, we get it. We get
Get
it. Then Tiamat curse you.
What does that even mean?
Fuckers.
Get out of here!
He is not lawful good. Nerd Brigade.
Sorry I rained on your fucking nerd parade.
God, I'm so cool.
Woo woo, Nerd Brigade. Woo woo, Nerd Brigade. Woo woo, Nerd Brigade. 4th edition in the house. Are you down?
Oh my god, it's in?
Yes.
Oh, let me bring my miniatures, my
Nice, you
dire
got one.
animals.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go get
Okay.
some Red Bull.
Come hither.
Sweet. Yes. Meet us in the demo room. Woo woo.
Oh wait, you guys got a copy of 4th edition? Totally in.
Yeah, don't trust that motherfucker.
There you go. Now just fall. Not with the turret.
Don't be careful with that thing. No, there's a dude on the floor.
I know, it'll put my eye out.
It'll put my eye out.
Make sure you hit the floor.
Don't.
Oh, fucking.
Go. No, run at it.
Oh, you almost did it. I mean, just because they started making this Flash game before Portal was out, you know, they must have just really studied the pre-release videos, and they also had all these other things that were just pure conjecture, like the electrified floors or the red beams that'll kill you if you walk through them, but you can shoot portals through, or the blue ones you can stand on and shoot portals through,
Right.
and stuff like that. You
Yeah,
know, when they made this mod, they took all those things that they just pulled out of their ass in the Flash thing and made them real.
It was totally enjoyable too. Like they added stuff to the game that feels right in place with the rest of it.
Yeah, it's not just a bunch of new levels. They added some new gameplay elements to it too. You know,
Exactly.
and that definitely makes it a lot more fun. You know, and hell, they even put a boss fight in the thing.
They did.
And granted, it's not too much of a spoiler to say it looks a little gimpy. But that's fine. I mean, just the fact that they did that at all is remarkable.
Right.
I mean,
No,
this
it's
is
really fun.
This is like a full 3 hours of gameplay in the thing. But
Well, it was more than 3 hours for me because like just some of those levels I got stuck on for like half an hour.
oh yeah, it could take a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's so awesome the way that the Flash Portal expansion starts off on the difficulty that the first game built on, you know?
Yeah, they clearly expected that anybody who's playing this has already beaten, the original Valve levels. and I really appreciated that. But at one point, it was almost too hard. Yeah,
it
like
descends into motherfuckery in a couple places. You're like, it's
Yeah.
like intentional misdirection. It's like, oh, I should go over there. No, that'll just kill me over and over and over again. I actually have to look through this tiny gap in the wall and shoot something through there.
Right.
You know, this one isn't holding your hand at all.
What I want to talk about specifically is the one where it's the series of all the little rooms,
Right.
You know, and all you have is the little tiny windows to shoot through.
Yeah.
And I lost track of where I was really quickly.
Really disoriented.
Yeah.
And even the art assets too. I mean, for
Yeah.
most of the levels, they mix the Half-Life 2 art as well as the Portal art. So I mean, when you have a chamber that what you can tell wasn't originally in the Portal game, curbs and columns and trucks from clearly from Half-Life 2, but they were used really well. You know, they were just enough put in there to make it a little new. You know, and I mean, in that train of thought, the coolest thing about it, I think, is the most original part about it, I think, is how they use the repurposed assets, you know? Because the GLaDOS
same
voice
files. But
yeah,
they're
they
using
use
them
all the same
they're-
GLaDOS
and
voice
they're not
files.
just reusing them, they're reusing them in different situations.
Through no fault of the Enrichment Center, you have managed to trap yourself in this room. Thank you for helping us help you help us all.
Well, and it works really well because the GLaDOS voices are so robotic and messed with that you could remix them together. And
You
can
can cut and paste the different parts of them.
and they totally sound correct.
Yeah. So the Valve levels are more flat than this.
Oh, yeah,
also.
definitely.
I mean, there are some vertical levels, obviously, but I mean, that's actually, I mean, it's not as platformy as the Flash game, obviously, but there's more of that than there was in the original.
It tends to be more of like inspired by the Flash version. They definitely don't match up one-to-one.
Right.
And there's certain levels that are definitely taken directly out and then repurposed, but it's not like they definitely won't match up if you go level by level. I think they did a pretty good job.
Breaking of your line of sight
Right.
in these levels too, because if you listen to the commentary, in the Valve portal, they say that we had to make this wall glass so that the player could see through it because breaking the line of sight made it too difficult for the players. No such qualms with these levels.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't mind putting you from one room into this room and not telling you how to get back.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center.
And I also liked how they tried to add in little bits to the lore.
Oh yeah.
It's like there's different things that you can see in the different levels, and you're like, well, throughout all of their state, I'm trying not to spoil it. Yeah, but
it's hard to talk about without spoiling it. I mean,
right, the game isn't canon, but it feels like canon.
It's just sort of spelling out things that were hinted at before.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of chicks, and there's an evil fucking speak and spell passive aggressive ex-girlfriend computer that's just screwing with them constantly. So and that's enough of a plot already.
Dude, you all right? What's up? What's going on, man?
Nothing.
You sure?
I feel like all of a sudden I was just having this fear moment here in the office. I heard you went to go see it more recently, Project Origin.
Yeah,
Fear 2. Wait, not Fear 2, Project Origin.
Project Origin, which was the name fans chose. Like, I guess that's how you wound up with a name like Project Origin.
I think the more important thing is as long as people who played and enjoyed Fear get the message that Project Origin is the game that they need to play next and not whatever the next game with Fear in the title is.
Right. But I mean, the whole thing was there were a lot of people, like, after Fear got popular, there were a lot of people who came back and were like, you know what, the action was good, but the rest of the game was kind of monotonous. So we sit down in this huge theater with the lead designer. His name's John Mulkey. He's a really cool dude. And we like start playing, and it's the beginning of the game.
Right.
And it's at an office building. And I'm like, dude, I'm fripping out. I'm just totally nuts. I'm like, oh my god, I have to write this preview, and I was like, you're showing me Fear again, and it was not supposed to be like this, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it was like a mind, like they were just messing with me. And so like we come around the corner where this animator's got this station set up, and he's like working on this new enemy, and it's like outside in the streetscape, and it was like really cool. It was really cool. It's like this character called the Remnants, and so at the end of Fear, you remember like that big explosion?
Right, that Alma, somehow the chain reaction that Alma sets off or whatever.
You start off now out in the suburbs, and you're headed in. You're like on a Delta Force team that's been tasked with like going to find out what happened at Ground Zero. So you're like working through the city that's all exploded and blown up, and the streets are all torn up. And there's this dude in a suit standing at a bus stop. The story is, I guess, that he got hit by the psychic shockwave or whatever, and is kind of in like a state of shock. But he's also been converted into like an enemy by Alma. So like when you come walking up to him, when you get close enough that he senses you, he doesn't actually fight you though. He raises the dead to fight against you.
It's crazy.
So and he does it like a puppeteer, and the animation is really cool. It's like when he picks them up, he actually picks them up by their weapon. They're like these weird shambling wrecks being drug around by their weapons and firing at you.
Like their gun is glued to their
like
hands or something like that.
Yeah, it's like totally crazy like
That's
that.
really cool, actually.
Like he's a blocker. It's like you have to get past him and get to the Remnant dude. To show the mech, you get into this thing, right, and then the cockpit closes down on top of you.
All Alien style.
Right, all Alien style. Felt pretty powerful. I mean, it really felt like these steps. Like that's the part that Butcher Bay got right. And,
right.
Like, when you were walking around this big powered armor suit, you felt like a badass, and you had that weight of step to it.
Right.
This totally has that weight of step to it.
That's cool because I mean, usually I'm not too into the vehicular stages in my shooters, but they often do provide that much needed kind of break from the standard action. And a game like Fear would have definitely been, benefited from something like that. I'm happy to hear that you saw some newer, more of the outdoor cool stuff.
And I also got to hang out with Craig Hubbard, and dude, he's really cool. He's the guy who did No One Lives Forever.
Right,
he actually did like the story on Fear, and he was like super honest about it. He's like, you know what, we totally screwed up with Fear. Like the story didn't come across the way we wanted it to.
Nice.
They wanted it to be like really super experiential, where like you were just doing stuff in the game and you kind of got the picture of the story. You never knew where you were in Fear. You're like, oh, I'm in an office, I'm in a warehouse, I'm wherever. Like now, because you're going into the city, every building you go into, you're gonna be able to see. You start off out in the suburbs at the Armacam headquarters, and as you're going into the city, you'll be able to see it fade behind you. And as you go to other buildings or places, you'll be able to like see these landmarks as you're walking around the streets. And like you always have that sense of like, I'm at some place, I'm in this city, I'm in Auburn, I know where Auburn is, I know if I go down this street, well, I've been going this way long enough, I should get to that building soon enough. And you'll actually get to the building. So you'll have a sense of place and not just be, I'm at a warehouse somewhere.
That would be a huge step forward.
Dude, seriously, right?
Like a gigantic step forward from where they were before.
Did they show you the improvised cover system?
No.
Okay, so like when you're in the game, like when you're in especially in tight passages or whatever, you run up to like a table or like anything that's basically you would think would be a movable object, and as soon as you get close to it, it'll have an icon. You click the stick, and you can like flip it over and like jump down behind it and use it as cover. But they'll totally use it against you. So like we go out on this patio. It's like this giant rooftop patio, and I had to pull cover right away. So there's a patio table I like flipped over and got behind.
Sure, yeah.
And then we fought around over underneath where there was like this balcony, because these guys were on this balcony, and I like ran underneath the balcony because they were sniping. I mean, I was like coming out and getting them.
Sure.
These guys came out from a side passage over here, so I circled around behind them. Well, as I circled around behind them, they ran this direction and hunkered down behind the table that I pulled over earlier.
Which they probably could have turned over themselves if you hadn't done it.
No, they do totally do that too.
That's awesome. So it'll be much more environmental in general than before. It was like, okay, well, there's a piece of cover here. There's a giant shelf over here, and I can go hide behind that. Yeah. But you didn't really feel like you were using the environment so much as the environment was getting blown up around you.
Or it was like a big setup, right?
Right. Sure.
And that's the other thing. Like talking about the architecture being better is like the warehouses and the offices you went through in the first game were very simple. It was like hallway, office, hallway.
Yep.
But what I saw, at least what I saw in that first part of this was, like it felt much less cut and paste.
That's good.
And I was playing it on 360 and it felt already almost as good as Call of Duty 4. I mean, I'm only saying almost because it was still a demo build. But,
you mean in terms of smoothness, frame rate, all that stuff?
In terms of how natural it was to use the controller sticks to play a shooter. I was only thinking about moving, shooting, and staying under cover. I wasn't thinking about, damn it, I need to get my aim right.
Right.
Yeah,
well, that's
cool.
important, especially in a game that's all about, that game is about combat. I mean, if the story is actually better, that's awesome. If the world is better, that's awesome.
I mean, if they can tell the story and you understand it.
Yeah. But the game was still still a great, not maybe not top tier. It wasn't a 9, a 10, an A. It was a good game for just the combat before. Right. And now if the rest of the stuff can kind of reach that bar where they got the combat before, it'll be definitely worth talking about it. This is a great idea.
Where are they?
I'm not going to tell you what my character's name is because you'll laugh.
What kind of character are you making? How big could you possibly be?
Well, I don't know if you remember last time we were playing, but I made like a fat bard.
Right.
So I'm gonna do the same thing. That character was awesome, but this time it's a man.
There's no bards in 4th edition.
About if let's say our crew encounters some sort of demons or whatever, and we need to.
And you will.
Right. Well, how are we going to make them fall asleep with my awesome music?
They may be in the second edition of the handbook, but the current one, bard has been
Be a gnome mage.
What are you guys talking about bards and gnomes for? I thought this was Metal Gear Solid 4th edition.
Oh, that's no. We're doing 4th edition, but D&D 4th edition.
But no, Metal Gear Solid 4th edition's out this week, right? That's like the big game.
Metal Gear Solid 4th edition.
Yeah, isn't the 4th edition of Metal Gear coming out this week?
Yeah,
but it's the big game.
But 4th edition D&D is coming out too, so that's why we're doing this.
So anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna roll a Foxhound VR recruit. I'm gonna have heavy emphasis on athletics and stealth. I realize I'm gonna have to take a big penalty to charisma. Actually, maybe I should boost my charisma and roll as a ninja. Ooh. Actually, a cyborg ninja. Can I do cyborg ninja?
You can't multi-class to level 11.
That's the stupidest thing ever. This game sucks. I'm gonna wait for BioWare to do something with it.
No bards.
Ryan, what's your character's name?
Well, my former character that I guess I can't create, his name was John Mayerish.
What happened? Huh? We're under.
You four have finished it. David and I have only just now gotten to the end of Act 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Did you get to the part where Meryl kills Snake?
I did.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. I guess I just don't want to be even talking about it yet. I guess I realistically just want to go play it more, but
savor the parts you're in because they're the best parts of the game.
Really?
Why is that? The first half.
Well, depending on what you're looking for.
If you're looking for an even, consistent game experience. Think back to Metal Gear Solid 3 and how it had a really great mix of interactivity and narrative all throughout the game. Metal Gear Solid 4 doesn't have that, and you're about to hit the halfway point pretty soon, in a few hours, at which all of a sudden the game inverts and becomes more about narrative with kind of a gameplay afterthought.
And I'm not going to disagree that, Metal Gear Solid 4 has a lot of cutscenes. No shit. It has, an amazing amount of cutscenes in the last 2 acts. But for me, who's, the diehard, consummate Metal Gear Solid narrative fan, I was happy to set my controller down and watch these cutscenes.
Once you've played the game the first time, all of a sudden these cutscenes have no more revelations for you. There's nothing else to take from them. I know, but I don't like playing a game and skipping through chunks of it. It doesn't feel right. So you have this conundrum of the second playthrough where you're going to enjoy the gameplay elements even more because you can really experiment with all the crazy things you could do in the first few acts. And then you'll get to the second half and it'll be like, okay, well, I get to sit around for 8 hours and watch the gameplay. Like Metal Gear Solid 3, one of the things I liked about it is it really didn't have much extraneous. Whereas MGS4, because so many of the codec conversations are moved into cinematic cutscenes, it's nice because you spend less time looking at a blank screen, but
it's just kind of
it's not editing
shifting around.
Right, it's shifting.
The number of codec calls in MGS2 and 3, it's
there are fewer codec calls, but when you take those out of the context of a radio conversation, then all of a sudden you have acting around them, and they take even longer to play out. And watching some of the characters act, where before they were just cutscene portraits, really kind of kills me because you look at Naomi and she has that weird kind of like spastic jerky action that Japanese actresses do because they used a Japanese voice or motion capture actress, and like people don't act like that, and it seems really out of character for Naomi. So there's kind of this visual dissonance that doesn't work for me at all.
You said yourself we mustn't allow ourselves to be chained to fate.
I can't slip free.
Then I'll free us both. Where's Liquid?
I can't tell you yet. Not until you free me.
Do we know?
I think overall, the Metal Gear Solid 4 narrative is very, very complex. It deals with huge amounts of issues. It ties everything up, and it does it in an expert way to me. Like, I was never bored. I was entertained throughout. Like even the really long denouement, endings upon endings, I was still there throughout it.
Do you think that 4 introduced a few new things like the war economy and like some of these other things that like the Beauty and the Beast unit that seemed it's okay, but it just doesn't seem necessary because you have all this other stuff that needs to be wrapped up.
I'll give you Beauty and the Beast does feel superfluous.
The cutscenes have been really, really impressive. They're really cool, and I do enjoy having a slight bit of interactivity, pressing a button here and there. That's cool. But when I played through the mission briefings, I was like, God damn, I wish all the cutscenes had this level of interactivity, and being able to take control of the Mark II and use it as a second camera, basically, and then become the director of the cutscene, and also get items that you use later in the game, and see all these little secret things that are just there to kind of like make it more fun. I wish that, more of the cutscenes had more interactivity like that.
Isn't that kind of admitting that the cutscenes aren't that good if they have to like offer you this other stuff to keep you occupied during them?
I'm so unimpressed by CG in movies. I hate going to the movies now because I think special effects are really boring. And when I look at movies that rely on CG special effects, the only thing I can think is, goddamn, if I can't control this, then what the hell's the point? I do like the cutscenes, and I would watch them anyway, but when I have a taste, when I get to press L1 here, get to press X here to do this thing, I think, man, I wish it was just slightly more interactive. The game, when you hit start, you are presented with something that is, you're completely in the world, it's totally different. The commercials.
The intro commercials are
totally
fantastic.
I love them.
Did you go back and switch between them?
No, I haven't done it yet.
Some people don't know that during that intro, you can switch, all 4 PMCs have a commercial, and you can switch between them.
I didn't know that. The one that popped up for me was David Hayter getting interviewed while wearing the solid eye, and I was like, what in the...
It sets a good tone for what you're about to
do on here.
What are you wearing?
What do you mean?
Why are you here?
Oh, well, I was hoping to promote my new movie. I'm just coming off of the set.
No, David Hayter. Why here, wearing an eye patch?
It felt like a David Lynch film or something like that, is what we talked about.
It just thrusts you into like the depths of Kojima's psyche. Like you're in it. You're like there's no getting out
the
of
only
it.
thing it's reminiscent of RoboCop, actually.
Yeah.
A Paul Verhoeven movie.
Right.
Like it uses that same kind of gimmick to sort of say, here, let's flesh out the world. And I really wish that the game had done more of that.
1, 1, 2, 3. 5, 8, 13, 21, 34.
It's just got these wacky little Kojima-isms that that no one else would do.
I think the same thing. Like this game, it plays with a completely different toolkit. Like nothing else is like this. I mean, you make well maybe the next Splinter Cell will have similar graphics, but it's not going to be anything like this game.
No.
Like Metal Gear Solid 4 is like a singular creation from like a brilliant mind, and everybody who worked on this like thought about it 100%. Murata, Kojima, Payton. Nothing else is like this. And I think people saying, "Oh, yeah, like too much narrative," blah blah blah. Just play this game. Like any complaints we have about it, you know, everyone here thinks you should buy this game, right?
Yeah, but also be aware that if you're not someone who's enjoyed Metal Gear in the past, this game's not going to change your mind. It's going to reinforce
someone who wants that.
Unless their preconceptions stem solely from the fact that they didn't like controlling Snake before.
Well, in that case, sure, this game makes playing a Snake really fun in ways that the other games haven't.
Contact! Use this!
I always talk about that in Metal Gear Solid, like how one room in Metal Gear Solid will have as much like time spent on that art as like an entire level in another game, and I stand by it. Every little part of this game has stuff that you'll find that you can't imagine how much effort went into making all these tiny little things in the game.
Like the militia base, when you go in there and you have this kind of underground area, but then you come across little situations like the guys standing around a table looking at a wing that they've taken off of an automated drone.
It's very.
And you
It
might never
reminded
see
me of
little things
Half-Life
like
2
that.
actually
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, and you might never see that stuff.
And the other thing I really liked, especially about the militia base, but I noticed this all throughout the game, I love that the items that you pick up in the game seem to be placed in places that they actually should be, much more so than any other games. I mean, there's still times when you're crawling underneath a house and there's a ration under there or something like that, but I mean,
Well, I think
other
they
than
can,
that.
I think they can do that more because there's more dynamism in how the game plays out. So
Yeah.
it's not just like you're going through these Spartan sterile warehouses and bases. You're actually going through places where people live and fight, and it's a combat zone.
Ryan and I are playing through almost at the same time, and we keep kind of going over to each other's desks, checking out the screen, and we find that we're playing the game differently. Like there are so many different ways you can make your way through
Two,
it. Yeah,
which where people are seeing it now, it's more of like an MGS3 style environment. There's lots of different ways you can go through it, and that level, the tracking sequence, I thought was brilliant. I mean, it's a new kind of gameplay, going beyond the kind of things you expected in MGS3. I mean, Act 2 of MGS4 is like MGS3 done better. It really is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love the second act, and I wish the whole game had been like that.
You think that could be Naomi's?
If you're playing the game, I guess kind of how I've been playing it, which is very thoroughly, exploring every area, making sure I'm grabbing most of the items or all of the items that I can find, you'll constantly have tons of money. If you come upon any point in the game, let's say I walk into a new screen and a helicopter is coming at me, well...
Go buy some RPG ammo, dude.
Right. In Metal Gear Solid 3, you had a lot of weapons at any given time, but in this game, you really, because you can buy ammo at any time, you are always ready for any battle that's come at you.
Do you think that takes away from the stealth part? Does that? Because I felt when I played through it, I was running and gunning because it was so easy, and I was not afraid of losing ammo. So I'm like, I don't really have to sneak by this part.
I actually don't think it does. In Metal Gear Solid 3, one thing that really frustrated me was that I was constantly running out of suppressors for my AK-22.
Right.
And in this game, you can just go to the menu and buy as many suppressors as you need. So it becomes easier to sneak around and use non-lethal methods on your enemies without making it like super easy.
but I found that the further I get into it, I'm actually making a conscious effort to be more stealthy because it does raise the challenge a little bit, and I just find it to be more satisfying.
I feel like the fourth act's action sequences really fall flat. That's a place where the narrative really interferes with the gameplay, because you have one area in the second half of the game where it's as big and open as Acts 1 and 2, but the things you do in that area are a lot less interesting because there's been a plot twist, and so you're facing a different kind of enemy. And to me, those enemies are much less interesting than the ones you faced.
There was so much potential in that environment, and we're not going to say what it is, but there was so much potential.
Act 4 is more about just tugging some strings of nostalgia.
No, it doesn't tug them. It beats you over the head with them. It's like,
Okay, like,
hey,
hey,
by the way, remember this? Remember this? Remember this?
There was one moment in Act
Okay,
4,
dude.
the self-referential moment, where it just like it killed that nostalgia for me.
Yeah. I've been like taking a crap on the game this entire time, but I really love this game. I think it's a lot of fun and it's very satisfying.
I think we all do.
Well, and I think
I
when
just
it's
want
all
to make that clear.
Yeah,
Like I really enjoy this game.
Like
okay?
whether or not you completely love how the narrative's handled, I think at the end of this, it's really exciting because seeing like what Act 2 is possible. Like the idea of like a new Metal Gear that's like that, freed of this super complicated. That I love this story, but I'm glad it's over. You know? Like,
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think if we can take these gameplay concepts, maybe even not call them Metal Gear, like maybe we can have the world's first console Boktai or something. I don't care. Whatever. just give us these game mechanics. Explore what was in Acts 1, 2, and 3. Go with those things. Don't get too bogged down to the story. Tell an okay story on the side. That's fine.
Metal Gear Solid 3, I think, like with you, that was my favorite of the series before this.
It's still my favorite. Like to me, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the overall peak of the series. Although the high points of Metal Gear Solid 4 exceed anything in any other game in the series.
I think when we talk about this in the future, we'll talk more about the story and the lasting effects of this. But you know, as I beat this game 3 months ago, so I've had a lot of time to think about it. And I say it's a game that actually sticks with me, and not just like the graphics and gameplay and story, but the themes and what it has to say. And that's not something I say about a lot of games. And I think Kojima has some things to say here, and like his stances don't all come out completely clear, and like what he has to say about war and private military corporations. But this game has something to say, and I think that's rare too. So. I think when you get through this game, maybe we'll talk more about, you know.
Yeah, the meat of it.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that I like it as much as I do.
I can still be like a warlock, right? Because that was in the book.
Warlock is in the book, yes.
So I want to use magic.
We do need a warlock. We need a striker magic roll. Get this.
As long as they have magic.
As long as you don't use that. You can.
But this is my no. See, this is my magic one. I'd like to put a little LARPing into it. You know.
There's no LARPing today.
No LARPing?
Not in this room.
Dude, this fucking sucks. All right, I'm done. You guys can like have your own little game by yourself.
That's fine. We don't need you anyway. You can play 2 characters, right? You can handle 2. What are you working on there?
I'm a dwarf warrior. Oh no dwarves in my campaign. There are no dwarves in the Lost Relics of Universe. So.
But I don't play anything but dwarves.
Yeah, well, Moradin has been struck down by Asmodeus, and the dwarves have gone into hiding. And they're underground, and they do not come up with light. Well, you could be a halfling.
I'm a halfling, so I got
What are you doing?
Thrall, who
Okay.
is my halfling druid, lawful good.
Talk about that name later. Wait, druid?
Yeah.
Oh, see, no. Just like the bard, the druid's not part of 4th edition rules either. Again, it may be introduced in a 2nd edition, but not for now.
This is too much. Gary Gygax is mad at you.
He's not mad at me. Don't say that.
Sucks.
I'll play by myself then. I'll be this dire ape and this dire bear, and ride a striking punch for level 2. 15, and then he takes 3 hit points, and he's dead. Get this Wookiee over here.